Amazing. Welcome. Thanks, everyone. Steph, did you want to kind of start off with the intro on this, and then I'll take over?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Okay, so welcome everybody, and thank you. So just a reminder, if you don't know us, Steph Edwards, and I got Christina Pentlachuk, my partner in crime here. So we are here to talk about something called an offset mortgage, and I think it's something that doesn't get enough attention. And basically, what we're going to do today is just explain to you exactly what an offset mortgage is. And the beauty of this, it's sort of like a little bit of a secret of how you can actually pay less interest on your actual mortgage, give you a lot more growth in terms of having access to your equity, and give you a lot more financial flexibility. So this is what we are going to talk about. Okay, so here is our agenda for today. So when most Canadians, they sign up for a traditional mortgage, right? They make regular payments and then they just accept that they're going to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars of interest over their life of the loan. But what if you could actually cut that interest in half without making actual bigger payments? So this is where the offset mortgage comes in. It's a very powerful financial tool that is actually going to let you reduce the amount of interest that you pay daily and actually improve your cash flow, pay your home off faster. So what we're going to do is we're going to break down how an offset mortgage actually works, who can benefit, and how you can use it to save thousands of dollars in interest. Okay. So, why should you care? Okay. Well, first of all, we got a little picture of the bank here and lenders. Lenders, they don't actually really want you to know necessarily how much the mortgage costs. I mean, let's be real, right? They're in the financial business, right? They're there to make money. So the average size mortgage, okay, so this was from 2024 through CMHC, was 440,000. Even at an interest rate of 4%, the average Ontarian is actually going to pay within the first 5 years of that fixed mortgage, they're going to pay $83,000 of interest. Okay. That's double the amount of principal that they actually would have paid in that same period. And over 30-year amortization, you're paying $313,000 of interest over the lifetime of your mortgage. So, I think the big thing to remember here is that, again, banks do have capital requirements. They also want, they have to maintain certain amounts of savings. So on the other spectrum of that, they offer things like high interest savings account, where you're going to get higher rates of interest. But when we look at the cost of inflation and we look at what your mortgage is costing in terms of what you're paying, and then offset by the fact that, maybe you've got a high interest savings account, you've got money sitting in your bank account, you're not actually earning a lot of interest. And there could be better ways to sort of redirect the funds that you've got. Okay, Christina.
Love it. Okay, so really, thanks, Steph. That's awesome. The offset mortgage is really an overlooked strategy for reducing your interest costs. So, unlike traditional mortgages that really forces you into kind of a rigid monthly payment, an offset mortgage allows you to use your income and that savings that Steph was talking about to instantly lower your interest costs without permanently locking away your money. So every dollar that you deposit into this offset mortgage goes towards reducing the interest that you pay. And the beauty is you don't actually have to change any of your spending habits. You let your money just sit right in place against the debt, and before you're actually needing to spend it. And so, when executed properly, it offers a unique way to be able to save money by reducing that interest cost, speeding up your mortgage repayment, and boosting your financial flexibility. So, that less interest is your balance is being constantly lowered by those regular payroll contributions that are going in there. And therefore, the interest calculation is based on that daily reduced balance. So, your payments actually are going down towards paying your mortgage faster. And obviously, it makes you be able to pay your mortgage off quicker by shaving close to 5 to 10 years or more off of your mortgage without actually having to make extra payments. And it can really be able to improve your cash flow without changing your budget. So think about when you make an extra payment to your mortgage right now, this permanently reduces your overall cash, right? You put that lump sum to the mortgage, then you no longer have access to it. But with an offset mortgage, it lets you use your savings to be able to reduce the interest cost, but still gives you access to that money whenever you need it, maybe down the road. So the current way in terms of the mortgage, so let's assume, a $440,000 mortgage, as Steph used in her illustration, at a 4.5% interest with a 30-year amortization. And you had $5,000 in an emergency fund that we're going to be able to apply to that mortgage balance. Um, that's going to help reduce that effective interest rate. So you can see the old way is taking 30 years to pay that, and you're going to pay that $358,000 of interest cost. The new way with the offset mortgage, using your income and your savings to be able to reduce that debt and reduce that interest cost, will actually have you pay it out in 18 years and 11 months with a difference of only $257,000 in interest cost by comparison. So it does require a complete mind shift in how you do your daily
Excuse
banking.
me.
So you need to think of it as a bank account with a really large overdraft protection that is secured by your home equity. Your paycheck and your savings are deposited into the mortgage account, and your mortgage balance is reduced by that daily. The interest is only charged on that remaining balance, and you can still access and spend your money as usual. You have a bank card or credit card for daily expenses, and then you pay that credit card in full each month from that offset mortgage account. And the math is really outstanding. So despite that higher interest rate cost, the effective use of your income and your savings constantly lowers your outstanding balance, allowing you to pay the less interest cost. And by saving on the interest and directing more towards that principal, many homeowners can shave 5 to 10 plus years off of their mortgage without making the extra payments. So you can take a look, like this chart it represents the 30-year AM. I know it cuts off kind of at the bottom, but the traditional 30-year AM to the shorter AM is 11 years sooner. And that's an interest cost savings of over $100,000. Okay. So when you look at, it looks by first appearances that you're paying more interest front loading at the beginning, but it really is from a snowball method there, an avalanche that accelerates the repayment on there. So bottom line, really, if you're comfortable managing money in a fluid and flexible way, the offset mortgage really offers those huge savings over time. They aren't new, but they are very underutilized in Canada. Funny enough, in Australia, it is the way all of their mortgages are set up and structured. Okay. So if you want to reduce mortgage interest without making extra payments, you like financial flexibility, you want to be able to access to home equity without having to constantly refinance, and you have consistent income or savings, then this would be a game changer for your finances. So, as we all know, there's a list of who should have and who shouldn't have an offset mortgage. So that equally important is who should avoid it. I'll be honest here. If you don't keep a steady cash balance, or if you spend every dollar that you earn, that traditional mortgage is probably the better fit for you. It works best for certain types of homeowners. So high income salaried employee earners works great because they have regular deposits with positive cash flow at the end of each month to be able to help maximize their interest savings. Self-employed and commission earners, if your income fluctuates and you receive large sums of money at different intervals, you can actually park that income to be able to reduce and have those interest cost savings on your mortgage for during those peak income earning periods. And so that will help you also get further ahead as well. Investors and savers, if you keep a lot of cash on hand, the offset mortgage outperforms the savings account in interest cost savings hands down any day. And for people who want financial flexibility, that are disciplined organized, and like budgets. Okay. So part of our
Stick,
analysis is really to go through a budget with people, right?
yeah, and who will stick to a budget. That's the most
And
important thing. And
yeah, super
also,
helpful.
yeah, and I just want to like interject that like sometimes, like just actually recently, Christine and I are working with a particular client where they have really good incomes. One of them is self-employed, the other has a really good salary position, but they make a lot of money, but they kind of spending a lot of money. So they're not really tight with their actual budget. When we showed this to them, they were just like floored because they have a very specific goal to be mortgage free. And so basically, we're working on some cash flow and cash flow management strategies to be able to help them utilize this type of mortgage in order to do it, right? And so anyway, the
Yeah.
particulars of it, we don't want to get into in terms of how we actually specifically did it for this particular couple. But I mean, this is like going to be a huge game changer for them. And the most important thing is that it really doesn't matter about the interest rate that you're paying on the mortgage. In the example we gave here, we showed an interest rate that was 1% higher, and you're still paying the mortgage off 11 years faster. So it's
Yeah.
pretty
Yeah.
significant.
And just that example that Steph's referencing, we're taking the client from a 20-year amortization down to 6 years and 4 months. It was an incredible amount of savings that they're going to have off of that. And so because it was so much quicker in terms of being able to get that payout, if they continued on with their mortgage payments that they normally would have been making and put that into an investment account, and over that same 20-year time frame, they would obviously still be debt free, but creating over $750,000 in wealth appreciation with this strategy. So that's going to help them with their retirement goals that they had in mind. So getting debt free and building that nest egg to enjoy their retirement a little bit more richly than they thought. Okay. So ways to obviously amplify the results even further to get the most out of your offset mortgage. Is, like I said, that mindset shift. Direct all of your income into this mortgage account. So every dollar hits your account immediately to be able to reduce the interest cost. So setting up your direct deposit so that your paycheck lands into the offset mortgage account automatically. Use it as your everyday bank account. Pay your bills, your mortgage payments, your everyday usual spending. Your balance does fluctuate, but you're constantly reducing your interest costs because you have this big lump sum of money that comes in, the expenses that come out over time. And as we mentioned, as long as you're bringing in more than you're spending out, then it's an effective strategy that's going to work for you. Keep your emergency funds in your offset account. How many people here have a little emergency account where you keep kind of funnel money into for those emergencies? And that account that Steph mentioned, you're not getting paid very much, maybe 1-2% interest if you're lucky. By the time you factor in inflation costs, you're not making anything. It's just sitting there and parked. So if it's just parked, park it in your mortgage offset account and save on that, 3, 4, 5% interest cost that you have on your mortgage. Then
Well,
when you
and
need the
Christina,
money,
I'm just
withdraw
going
at
to
any time.
interject.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was just going to interject what you have to remember with some of these high interest savings account, they're non-registered, right? So non-registered, so 100% of it is taxable interest
Mm-hmm.
income at whatever your marginal tax rate is. So
Yeah.
if you think about it, if you're getting 4 or 5%, you're paying 100% tax on whatever that little amount is. And then when you factor in the cost of inflation, right, it's probably
Mm-hmm.
negative.
Yeah, absolutely. And then also leveraging lump sum deposits is another accelerator too. So think about if you got a bonus from work, you received a tax refund, you sold some investments, dump that extra cash into your offset mortgage. So even if you withdraw it later, you're still saving the interest cost while the money is sitting there. And you want to make sure that you're tracking your progress and adjusting. So monitoring those statements each month to see how much interest you're saving and making small adjustments to be able to optimize this strategy. And so in reference to the client we were just chatting with last night, 6 years and 4 months versus 20 years as an amortization. I said, you know what? Even if life happens, even if you had a major expense that you had to dip into and go into those savings, if it takes you 10 years instead of 6 years and 4 months, you're still ahead of the game, right? So you can adjust for life circumstances because we know life doesn't remain static, it's variable and stuff happens with cash flow. But when you're monitoring those statements and taking a look at seeing the level of income coming in and the level of expenses going out, you're going to get a good feel for it. And if a major purchase comes along, you say, okay, yes, my balance may have increased by X, but where would that money have been come from anyway? Oh, yeah, I put all my emergency funds in there. And so my balance was already lower, anyways. So I've just kind of dipped into those emergency funds. So it's a really neat product to be able to take a look at, to be able to do better with your finances and come out further ahead. All right. So the next piece is, we're always coming up with unique strategies and great different hacks to be able to improve your financial well-being. And so I know some of you are already receiving our Breaking Bank newsletter. And if you haven't been receiving that, we encourage you highly to be able to sign up for our Breaking Bank newsletter. And I'm going to pop in the chat in a few minutes here. I'm going to put the link in that gives the access into our offset mortgage so that you can be able to sign up for our Breaking Bank newsletter if you're not on it already. So I think at this time, we're just going to open it up for some questions, right, Steph?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, just unmute yourself and just throw out some question, guys. Does it yeah, oh good. Tanya, she's got a question. Go ahead.
How does one set up an account like that? Is if it's something that the banks don't want us to know about, is it done through our banks? Is it done through you? How does that work?
Great
Believe it or
question. Love that.
yeah, really good question. Believe it or not, there's only really one lender in all of Canada that offers this mortgage. And so yeah, it would be something that you would set up with us. So it's actually done through Manulife. It's their product.
Awesome. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, so if something that you're sort of interested to see if it would be suitable for you, then absolutely. And listen, the nice thing about this product as well is that it also combines really well with some of the other strategies that we've talked about previously, when we talk about, make your mortgage tax deductible and doing rental cash damming. So you can actually use this to combine with those other strategies. But this is sort of like that first step for clients. And then honestly, what we find with clients is that it gets them really, really tight with their finances and exactly how much money they're spending. So yeah. Anna.
Actually, I have 4 questions. Sorry.
Okay.
I
love it.
I can always count on you, Anna.
Yes, number one, if let's say the owner decided to sell his house in 3-5 years and they want to amortize for 30 years and buy the new home, how does it work with offset mortgage? How does it reset? Is it possible to reset, or how does it work?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're assuming in this situation that they're going to move to another home and you're just transferring the product over to another home and continue on with your strategy. It may adjust your amortization if you're upsizing and your mortgage is bigger, right? To be able to do that. But if they're qualified financially anyway for the product, they're still on the same kind of strategy as what we originally laid out and achieving their mortgage freedom faster with that new bigger mortgage anyways.
But it's possible. Okay. Now, if the
Absolutely.
property on title there are 2 owners, and the mortgage has to be registered on title, does that mean that both owners have to register for offset mortgage and put their incomes, both of them, into the mortgage?
Yeah, so that great question. So all owners on title are all owners on the mortgage, right? And so, I mean, and we keep calling it a mortgage, but the reality is it's the HELOC, a home equity line of credit. But only Manulife offers you the ability to tap into that home equity line of credit like a bank account. It comes with a debit card. It comes with pre-authorized forms that you can set up your automatic bill payments to be able to come out of. And so if you don't use it like the bank account by having your payroll deposits into it, then you're not maximizing the benefit of what it has to offer. So you can choose not to, right? And just transfer over the amount of money that you would and use it like a traditional mortgage. But now you're defeating the purpose and the effectiveness of it.
But
Yeah.
not
I
every
first,
person, like not,
Yeah.
so if you've got two people, like you said, you don't have to have both people's incomes into it.
yes.
You could just have one person's income into it. So in the example of the client we just put into the strategy, the one client with the salary, they're basically putting their salary, paying all their fixed costs out of that Manulife One account. And then the other partner who is a self-employed, kind of commission-based, they're using that person's income to sort of pay more or less their expenses because they have a high cash business on the other side.
Yeah, that
So
was my question, if it's both have to, if it's a must or not.
no,
No, okay.
yeah. So think about it this way, you guys. Let's say that you have $8,000 coming into, so let's use an example. You have a $440,000 mortgage. At the beginning of the month, you have $8,000 coming in, right, from income. Your expenses, right, to run your household, everything all in is, let's just say it's $6,000, and including paying your mortgage. Okay. So there's $2,000 left at the end of that month. That $2,000 goes directly to reducing the balance of the mortgage on top of the regular mortgage payment. Okay. So then normally what happens is if you had a regular checking account and you just paid your mortgage, the $2,000 extra cash flow you have would just sit in your bank account, right? But what's happening is, why we kind of call this the power of the paycheck, is that you're using your extra cash flow every month to immediately reduce the interest that you're paying on the mortgage itself. Okay. So it's not just sitting off into a separate bank account.
Yes, it's good when everything is going this way. Sometimes if
Yes.
it's negative cash flow, let's say you need a huge amount of money, like to rentals, or like somebody lost a job or whatever. So how does that work with that?
Well, you have access to all that equity in the home, right? So so you have access to it. So let's say, 2 years from now, you get that mortgage down, from 440, it's down to 410, right? But there's a period of time where you need to pull some of that money out, then absolutely you have access to it. In most other traditional types of mortgages, you'd have to refinance the entire mortgage, right? Which could jeopardize your interest rate and in order to access that equity. So this gives you lots of fluidity. But the thing is that I want to point out is that if you're a person that says, oh my gosh, I've got this, line of credit, I'm just going to use it, right? Then that's kind of bad for you, right? This has got to be the person that's like, who's really, really focused on paying down that mortgage and not using the line of credit, like just indefinitely, right?
Got you.
Does that
And
make
so, yes, it
Yeah.
does make, and then for me, it's yes. So fixed mortgage, let's say somebody decides to switch from a fixed mortgage and they still have 2 years left overs. So then they still have to pay the penalty and then switch to the mortgage. Or does the bank covers it? Like, how does it work?
Yeah.
If you're
So, I
trying
mean,
to
if,
go from a structured fixed mortgage into the offset mortgage, yes. Yeah, you would have a penalty that would be required to be paid to be able to transfer over to a new lender. So the analysis to be run is obviously, does it make sense to be able to pay that penalty, have that cost incorporated into the new offset mortgage? Is that your savings going to be, that significant? It might be worth it. Depends on what that
Okay.
penalty cost is and time to maturity.
My last question is like, what about the second property? Like for investors, for example, does it work for them the same way?
So the investment property, I would always recommend that it be structured as a regular mortgage because it's tax deductible. So if you're still carrying a primary mortgage, your primary non-tax deductible mortgage, your personal mortgage, should be set up as the offset. And then, as we've always taught with the rental cash jamming, take the rental income and apply it towards that principal mortgage, offset mortgage as the pay down. So that's accelerating that pay down even further. That is like the triple enhancer of this offset mortgage to be able to do that. And then it offers a ton of flexibility because now you have to pay those rental expenses. They have what's called sub-tracking accounts. So you can allocate all the expenses that were related to each individual property if you have more than one, so that you have an interest cost statement for each of those investment properties at the end of the year, and you can track those expenses separately and be able to write off the interest cost on those. It's a very flexible product.
Tanya, you had your, Tanya, did you have a question? I see Brian's got a question here. Did you have something really quick before I go to Brian?
It was answered with Anna's last question.
Okay. Perfect.
Amazing.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Brian.
Yeah, hey Steph, just quick question. Can you explain, is it harder to qualify for this for the average person, or what's the difference there?
That's a great question.
Yes, that's awesome. So it's I would say that it is a little bit more rigid than some of the other lenders. So a little bit more income to debt servicing specific for the traditional method, I want to say. So you have a salaried person, regular income, qualifying. We're pretty much what we call a 39-44% GDS TDS. So total debt is your income relative to all of your debts, your mortgage, all your loans, lines of credits, credit card payments, etc. We don't want to exceed 40%, 44% of your income. So they pretty much stick right to that. But they do have some really cool specialized programs, perfect for those that have large volumes of investment or small business owners, where we can be able to extend those income to debt servicing ratios under these specialized programs. So in some ways, it's actually easier to qualify if you're fitting in the category of having good small business income, where you might only be declaring, a smaller amount of income. Minimum income amount for a small business person is $25,000 that you have to declare. And then those that have high net worth in terms of large RSPs and tax-free or non-registered investment portfolios that we can help use to support the qualification. Thanks, Brian. Great question.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you.
All right, Mike, you're smiling a lot. Do you have something?
Giggling away on mute.
Surprised too.
We can't. He's on another call, I think.
Oh, is he? Maybe.
I know. I'm just trying to read lips at this point.
I thought he's talking. I thought he's talking to us. I think the thing that is important is that, the whole reason, why we sometimes are bringing these types of products to you, we talk about make your mortgage tax deductible, rental cash damming, is that, there is different ways, right, to approach your personal finances. And, I know we addressed this for any of you who were at the EXP rally in November, is that we really have to start thinking differently about how we're managing our personal finances. And we have to think differently about traditional mortgage debt and how we pay it off. And because, we know, given the cost of housing, given the cost that, mortgages are so high and expensive, that we have to start doing things a little bit differently than the traditional way. And this particular product is a great way to determine that. So for anybody who thinks, I want to talk about this a little bit more, off camera, confidentially, and if you have kind of a good idea of just to think of whether or not this would even be a good candidate for it, then we'd be happy to discuss it with you. So, okay, I think that's our time. We're like 9:34.
Oh, look at that.
Perfect. You guys really had it down to the minute. So it was great. And we had so many amazing questions. This was awesome. We're so very grateful for your time this morning and going over this with us. Before we go, any other questions or comments?
I'll comment that I did put the Breaking Bank newsletter link in the chat box. So please do click on that if you're not already signed up with our Breaking Bank newsletter.
Perfect. And we will make sure that this goes out to everybody, including Christina's and Steph's contact information, as well as a replay of today's call. So if you want to just, put it back in your head again, watch it again, you're going to have that opportunity as well before you reach out and chat with those lovely ladies.
Amazing. Thank you so much, everyone.
Okay, thank you.
Coming and
Happy Friday, everybody. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.